All right, thanks, Chris, and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I am Warren Strem. I'm the National Sales Manager here at TOA Canada, filling in for Louis Thomas today. Unfortunately, he was unable to join us, but I will do my best to take you through the ins and outs as of the CX-1000, which we just launched very recently. So brand new equipment that'll be very exciting for us, and I think something that I think you might find some serious value in. So start with a quick look at the agenda. We'll go through some of the product concepts, go over the lineup of products that are involved with the CX series, some of the features involved, the target markets, and some comparisons with other existing TOA systems that we've worked with concurrently and in the past. So looking at some of the product concepts, the idea here is that we can describe essentially the CX-1000 in basically one phrase: convey, catch, and connect. The CX-1000 is a new system that combines PA broadcasting, two-way calling, and video to comprise a complete integrated communication system. So, again, kind of getting into one singular system that handles everything, rather than having to have separate systems that handle each individual function of these types of things, both for intercom, PA, and tying in video for surveillance systems, etc. So the first thing you can do is convey, and because this is a two-way communication system, you can convey directly, i.e. you can make announcements and have responses from the people on the far end. We also are able to look at the situation in the broadcast destination and accurately convey it on the broadcast. So you can actually, because you've got the video cameras tied in, you can have a look at what's actually happening in the areas that are in question, where you need to broadcast to, etc. Find out what's actually happening there, if you have people in place, what the situation really is. So you're not completely blind when you're making announcements into these areas. And we can ensure critical information is effectively conveyed by prioritizing control access across calls and broadcasts. And when multiple systems are kind of pieced together, it's typically very difficult to control priorities, but the CX kind of combines all those disparate systems and allows you to control the priorities of what's going on with each one. When it comes to the catchphrase, with video calls, it's easier for the other person to catch both your words and expressions. So if you can see what the other person is doing on the other end through a video call, you have more physical cues with which to understand what it is they're trying to convey. With speech enhancement and automatic volume control, it's easier to catch the speaker's words. Of course, with the optimization of the voice that's coming through, you have the best possible access to the sound and being able to truly understand what it is being said through the system. And of course, people can quickly catch that it's an emergency, so you can communicate very clearly that we are in fact having an emergency in that kind of a state. And in emergency mode, we have the function to transition into three phases, including broadcast, content, and area, which can adjust according to the passage of time. So you can change how the broadcast works depending on how long the broadcast has been active, and kind of evolve it through both the area that it's covering and the content that it's covering across the passage of time. When it comes to connect, even in remote areas, it is connected because it is on a network. CX is connected to a network of all devices. If the network environment is the same, it's possible to make calls, broadcasts, and check videos with remote devices. Since the stations support PoE, it can be operated with a single LAN cable and connect up to 3,000 devices. Other companies' equipment and other systems of TOA are connected. So of course that means we can connect those disparate systems, whether they're TOA or others. And we are able to connect with remote protocols by using an external PC or a tablet, and we have access to many of the functions related to CX broadcasting, so that we can operate them remotely. Excuse me. A quick overview of the CX system itself. CX series is connected by network and by connecting microphones, audio players, and speakers to each relevant model. The CX series can be used to build a complete broadcasting call system. In addition, various internal and external devices can be connected through the network. As you can see, we've got the input side, output side, etc., all connecting through the network and through analog connections on the units themselves. We'll go through some of the products, the individual products here shortly. As a complete system, the base network PA system comprises the industry's largest full matrix of 3000 by 3000, centered on system managers, which is required for all systems that you build with the CX-1000 system. We can build a communication matrix with call and video functions across the board. So very, very flexible when it comes to how this gets set up, because it is all networked. You have a lot of flexibility as to how and where you set up each individual device, etc. So we'll move forward to take a look at the general lineup of the products that are involved here. First is the CX-SM1000 System Manager. This must be included in a single system when a CX system is being built. The System Manager is absolutely required for it to run. Becomes a head end and establishes CX broadcasts and calls. Device status monitoring is possible by accessing the IP address of the system manager. It's equipped with an SD card slot, which allows you to download and upload settings and output your logs. So it's kind of managing everything, and you're able to save settings on that SD card if you need to replace the system manager at any point, or if you need to download any of the output, the management logs, etc. You can do that through the SD card. Next up, we have the CX CC1016 Control I/O unit. This allows you to connect control inputs and outputs to the system, expanding past the devices that already include them as well. So while most of the individual devices in the lineup are equipped with their own individual control inputs and outputs, the CX CC1016 allows us to significantly increase the amount of contact closures available for increased flexibility. Next, we've got the handsets, and the first of these is the CX-OP 1700 Video Operations Station. It has a touchscreen 5-inch LCD and a camera on board, allowing for video calls to be made possible with other CX stations that have cameras. Devices without cameras will be treated essentially as voice calls. It is also possible to broadcast from this station to other devices, as this device itself can receive, and the device itself can receive broadcasting. So you can have this either as a receive or a send. Obviously, it makes sense being that it's a two-way handset. We can assign up to 100 functions to the touchscreen for intuitive operation, and it can display IP camera images on the LCD. So if you've got external cameras that are connected, you can have them displayed on the screen as well. Next up is the CX-OP 1500, the audio operation station. This allows for audio calls with other CX devices and SIP phones. The station also can broadcast to other devices and receive broadcasts just like the video station can. Both of these devices are PoE powered, so you can use a PoE enabled hub to operate them with a single LAN cable. And you can kind of see some of the additional specs there off to the right-hand side of the slide. Next, we have the hands-free stations, aka door stations. So the CL1750 video door terminal is equipped with a camera and supports video calls with the video operation stations I mentioned just a moment ago. It's also possible to receive broadcasts from other devices. It is IP65 rated for dust and water resistance and IK8 rated for impact resistance. It's intended for use in semi-outdoor environments such as entrances and gate posts. The CXCL1550, on the other hand, is the audio version of essentially the same thing. Very, very similar to the video call station, but without a camera, obviously. It's also possible to receive broadcasts from here as well, and it includes some of the same dust-proof, waterproof, and shock-proof features that are inherent to the video call station. Of course, both of these are PoE compatible. Next, we have the broadcast side devices, input side. So the CXRM1700 is a remote touchscreen microphone. It's equipped with a 5-inch LCD with a touchscreen. It can also broadcast from the microphone or from any sound source that's connected to it. You can assign up to 100 functions to the touchscreen and 5 physical direct keys for intuitive operation. The LCD can display the image of a connected IP camera, so you can see what's going on in the space that you are broadcasting to. And also it can be powered by PoE like the other devices. Next up, we have the CX-AF1062 audio interface, which gives us 6 audio inputs and 2 outputs. When connecting to multiple audio input devices, such as microphones and sound sources, to a CX system, this is the device that you would use. So for tying in external devices that need audio either input or output to or from the system, this is the guy that you would use for interfacing that. Next, we have the power amplifiers and optional wall brackets. So there are 2 amplifier options with different wattages, the CXPA 1112 and the CXPA 1240. These are rated at 120 watts and 240 watts respectively. Each of them has a 10-line speaker selector and 10 control outputs. This allows you to do your zone paging using the speaker selectors that are built in. So you're sharing amplifier power. You're not having to be restricted based on where things are being set up physically in terms of your amplifier power. You're able to share that power over the 10 speaker zones and use the selectors to page into specifically the zones you need. These amps are equipped with a 24-volt input function and emergency input function, excuse me, and can be linked to an emergency broadcast system. The ANC function can be used by connecting a sensor microphone to the audio input. So if you need to adjust your audio output throughout the day based on activity in the space, it can be connected to a sensor microphone, which will then detect the level of volume in the broadcast space, and you're able to adjust automatically based on that. Even when the network connection is lost, broadcasts can still be made from all speakers connected to the unit. And finally, we have the YC1001, which is just a wall bracket for use with the hand stations, the CX OP1700 and the OP1500, so that you can use them as a wall mount. And that hits us with the intro of the production, the products themselves in the lineup. Quick look at the overall system specifications. As mentioned earlier, the CX-1000 system connect up to 3,000 I/O devices, etc. Of course, the number of connections varies depending on the number of audio inputs and outputs and control inputs and outputs that each device has. Network is 100 base T, so please consider using Cat5e or higher cables. Of course, that's pretty much expected in North America at this point. Each device has a number of audio inputs and or outputs, control inputs and outputs, and speaker outputs as shown in this table. The CX allows the equipment to be configured until the number of audio inputs, audio outputs, control inputs, outputs, etc., and speaker line outputs reaches the upper limit. So this there's a tool inbuilt that allows for you to kind of keep track of what your population of devices is, and kind of give you the feedback stating exactly how much capacity you have left on your system. So we can do up to 3,000 audio inputs or outputs. We can do up to 12,000 control inputs, 15,000 control outputs, up to 3,000 speaker outputs. The remaining numbers in this of the system configurable devices. So, like I mentioned, as you build your system, you can kind of keep track of what your I/O structure is internal to the configuration software, and it'll let you know kind of how much space you have left depending on the devices you've already used. So once the upper limit is exceeded, it'll show an error, and therefore it's not possible to set up anything above the upper limit. It'll warn you that you've hit the limit. We'll go through a few of the key functions of the system here. So the first one, course, is video calling. You can make calls while watching the video from the CX camera or CCTV camera, and the integration of CCTV cameras allows you the option to check picture-in-picture, whether there are any additional visitors or companions that maybe you can't see from the door station, etc. You can have a secondary image that shows you kind of what's going on around that area. Next up, we have selective response, which, regardless of the order of the calls, you can respond to any calling station. And if you set priorities, you can also display incoming calls with a high priority on the LCD itself. So you can kind of differentiate between whether you have a high priority call coming in or you've got lower priorities coming in. You can keep track of them all and answer them in the order in which you prefer. And then we have the ability to integrate calls with general purpose SIP phones. So we do have SIP integration with the system. Even within the CX-1000 system, you can use third-party SIP phones if you configure them in the settings software. You can make calls not only to SIP phones, but also to your smartphone with a SIP phone app installed. So very, very handy features there. Of course, SIP integration is very key in the modern world. Next up, we have the forwarding function. So the functions of forwarding are enriched compared to some of the previous systems we've had. So we have no response forwarding in cases where you can't respond. So if it rings through, it'll fail over to the next station. We have busy forwarding. So if one station is busy or talking on it or etc., you can have failover to the next, etc. We have failover forwarding when the station is disconnected. So if you have a fault in the system and a station becomes disconnected, we can do forwarding based on that. We also have time-based redirecting if the time is set up. So again, that's hitting on if it, there's a set number of rings, and once it hits that, if it hasn't been picked up, it can fail over to the next station. Next up, we have group calling. You can set up a group as a calling destination. Maximum of 32 stations can be configured in a group, and the forwarding function can also be set up on a group-by-group basis. Phone book is available on the CX OP1700. It's only available there, but it can register up to 1,000 items in the phone book. And of course, headset connection is available with the handsets as well. And it uses a 3.5mm mini jack with speaker and mic connectivity. Proceeding through more of the call features. For external device control, it's possible to connect the control output from the local stations and to local devices that can take those controls and operate them directly there from the station. If, for example, if you connect it to an electronic door lock, you can control that lock from the station side, and in factories, you can connect it to a rotating light or a strobe, etc. We have also remote dialing. This is a function to dial and make a call with the control output on or input on. It can be used for crime prevention in combination with camera detection, etc. So you can automatically have the system ring in cases of intrusion, etc. Finally, we have changeable ringtones. It used to be one of the custom functions for the N8000, but with CX, it can be used as a standard. So you have a selection of ringtones that you can use or adjust, etc. And you can change the ringtones for each and every device if needs be. Carrying on to the broadcast features, we have video monitoring, of course, which is a new function. The CX OP1700 and the RM1700 with their 5-inch displays can display IP cameras on the LCD, and you can start broadcasting while watching that video. So again, you can see kind of what's going on in the broadcast areas while you're doing your broadcasts. You also have the new feature of voice stacking. It's not really defined in a similar way to what a lot of people understand. Really, the idea here is that this is a preview function, so you can record your voice for up to a minute in advance and check it before hitting the broadcast button. By previewing the recorded voice in advance, it's possible to check for misstatements and excess or lack of information, etc. So you can kind of review what it is that that you're going to broadcast before it goes through. Next, we have the program timer function. This allows you to activate events with a timer according to the time settings of the CX-SM1000. As you know, we also have, devices like the TT104B and the TT, etc. But these devices don't really need to be installed with the CX because you have that function kind of built in. So we don't need to do those peripherals in order to do program timing, etc. You can set up to a daily program, a weekly program, or up to a 2-year calendar program. Up to 10 daily programs can be operated simultaneously per day. From the operation web interface, you can set the stop or advance or postponements of the setting program on the same day, etc. So lots of flexibility when it comes to the program and timing function at scheduling. Next, we have the audio scene functions. So this feature allows you to switch between presets of volume, sound quality filters, speaker EQs, etc. In the same space with either a touch or a timer. So you can adjust it on the fly, or you can set certain times for these audio presets to be switched. For example, you can control the volume during normal times or emergencies, during daytime versus nighttime, or in a performance facility, you can change the sound quality and filters during presentations, etc., other events, to switch to the settings that are suitable for your intended use at that time. Next up, we have wide area broadcasts. There are two types of CX broadcasts. There's normal broadcasts and wide area broadcasts. In CX, unicast control is defined as normal broadcast, and multicast control is defined as wide area. If you choose wide area broadcast, you can broadcast up to 3,000 lines. However, in the wide area broadcast, the control is multicast, so the broadcast status of the receiving side can't be checked. At the end of the broadcast function, we have the ability to broadcast to the IPA1 series. It's possible to broadcast with multicast audio transmission to the IPA1 series of IPA1 or IP audio devices, and it can be operated on LAN with PoE power, so you don't have to worry about locating amps, etc., for the speakers, etc., and things that are involved in the IPA1 lineup. So great complement to an existing lineup of TOA devices that we've had out for the last couple of years or so, and adding in that functionality of IP speakers. We have emergency mode. When you start an emergency message broadcast from a station, a unit, or a control input, it switches to emergency mode. In emergency mode, there are parts that work differently than usual. So chimes, sounds, and displays for emergency will be a little different than typical. You have the microphone broadcasting and general broadcasting for emergencies. You can bypass the attenuators that are connected to the control output of the PA system, and you can display rotating beacons or strobes, etc., using control outputs. If you use emergency mode as a notification of abnormalities, you will be able to convey evacuation orders and situations more reliably. In phase-based broadcasting, we have the function that allows automatic expansion of the emergency broadcast destination and changes to the broadcast content over time. So up to 3 levels of sequence control are available. So as time goes on, you've triggered your broadcast locally, and then maybe as time goes on, you might need to expand that to other areas of the building and or shift it to a slightly different message, etc. As time goes on after the broadcast is triggered, so that it can be set to automatically make those changes within the system. And of course, redundancy is very important as well. Each device in the CX series is equipped with 2 LAN ports, allowing for dual network redundancy. So even if a single network route fails, we can provide highly resilient services by communicating normally. CX-1000 also has the ability for scheduled self-checks. This function allows automatic checking of the CX devices once a day at a set time. The items that can be inspected vary depending on the models, but you can set a hands-free microphone or speaker, direct key, amplifier, and external storage devices, all as fault detection points. So you can get that daily update to make sure everything is functioning for you every single day. It's also possible to start a self-check manually. So even if it's not as part of the schedule, you can run a self-check at any given time. Next up, we have the operations log and failure log. In the CX system, the system manager keeps a log of all operations and failures. A total of 100,000 operation and failure logs can be stored. And you can view it on the web interface and or download it. In addition, you can use an SD card to download it on the device side, so not just through the network, but also has that SD downloading at the device itself. Failure detection as well. So that's a function, of course, that continuously monitors the operation of each device in the system, cable connections between the devices, communication, power supply, and other key points from input to output. In the event of a device failure or cable breakage, it is possible to notify the failure information on the operation station or on the web maintenance software. And lastly, on this page, we have the device replacement of the CX-SM1000 in case of a failure. So the CX-SM1000, the system manager, is integral to the system. So we made it easy to replace if it ever does fail. It's possible to easily upload the settings from an SD card to the CX-SM1000. So if you back up your settings with an SD card, you can easily replace the device without having to, completely set it up again on a PC, etc. If you want to replace it, the system manager, you can easily use it without reconfiguring or restarting, as long as the settings are the same. So no big adjustments to make if you at some point have to replace the system manager. And because that system manager is integral to the system, always a good idea to have a spare. So if you were to build a big system with it, very good idea to have a spare unit on hand for the system manager in case you do ever need to replace it. You can do that very, very quickly rather than having to order one in, replace it, and wait for it to show up while your system is effectively down. So it's always a good idea to have a spare on hand if you can do that. We also have DSP, digital signal processing, built into the device. So a few of the different things that we can do to adjust sound quality, make it easier to hear, depending on the environment in which the equipment and speakers are installed in. We have voice switching. We've got an echo canceller built in, noise cancellation, automatic noise volume adjustments, speaker EQs, and on the input side we have microphone array adjustments, voice enhancements, and automatic gain control. So that's just a few of the DSP functions that we have access to within the CX-1000 system. And next up, lastly, I'll hit on the software for it. On the left, we see the setting software. This is a software for initial system configuration used by the installers. It is a Windows software, and you can download it from the web page. All devices configured on the CX system are set on this software. External devices such as IP cameras, SIP phones, and external phone systems that are linked to the CX system are configured on each device and registered on this configuration software. And on the right, we have the operation and maintenance software. This is used by the users for daily system management and status monitoring. It's a web application that can be accessed and used in a browser. You can view logs, check device statuses, change audio scenes, set program timers, and much, much more from the operation and maintenance software as well. So two real key software advantages when it comes to setting this up and using it on day-to-day. So we'll touch base on a few of the use cases and markets where you might be able to use the CX-1000. This, of course, is not by any means an exhaustive list of ways or means or projects that you can use it for. Just a few key project types that you can hit on to when you're making either large-scale systems that mix calls, broadcasts, and videos for multiple locations, or for smaller systems that really only broadcast and make calls to certain areas. We'll go through a couple of these options for us. So the first one here is the example of a factory. We believe that the introduction of CX-1000 series will be able to propose optimization of facility management and operation using the network. The main key points to this are, of course, sensor integration supports that supports notifications when on-site troubles occur and smooth operations or integrations. And of course, clearly audible sound even in noisy environments. So we can address those kind of two main points in the factory setting. So kind of touching on the sensor integration support, supporting notifications when on-site troubles occur and smooth integration. According to the detection of the sensors, it's possible to perform automatic broadcasting and automatic calls. Abnormalities can be notified not only by the indicator light, but also by sounds. In addition, by linking with network cameras, it's possible to check the situation on site before making the appropriate broadcasts and calls. Second point, as noted, is clearly audible sound even in noisy environments. Instead of conventional typical phone paging, we can also do broadcasts from the intercom stations, and so it's possible to transmit audio with high sound quality. There are automatic volume controls, automatic gain controls, other voice filters, etc. For clarification, allowing you to set the sound field according to the site. These are used to achieve audible broadcasts even in noisy environments. So you really can kind of work with what your environment is giving you and adjust your audio based on what the environmental features are. In addition, as a station for the factory, we plan to develop dustproof and waterproof stations that match factory usage more in the next steps of development. So there will be more stations coming that have different levels of proofing against water and dust, etc. Each CX device is connected to a LAN, so even if the line layout is changed, it can be easily switched if there is a LAN environment in play. If the station is equipped with speakers, it allows it makes it possible to follow the change of broadcasting groups to a change in arrangement by simply changing the settings without having to change any wiring, etc. Typically, there were many disparate types of devices that were often needed based on the functionalities that were required in systems, but the CX series really builds in all of the key features, so we don't have to kind of piece together these systems. We have it all kind of inclusive in the CX system. In addition, if there is an amplifier for the broadcasting equipment in each building, it's possible to manage the broadcast of all buildings. The idea here is we can really obtain a space-saving and power-saving broadcasting system by building it all into one. You can seamlessly set the priority of broadcasting for the entire factory and or the broadcast on the production line. For example, if you set the priority of an earthquake early warning to a high priority and lower the priority of emergency announcements, etc., inline broadcasts and time chimes, you can ensure that the important broadcasts with highest priority are carried out. Next, we have an example of multi-building facilities. Of course, the factories we introduced a second ago are also multi-building, but other examples exist, such as universities. Of course, they're kind of very, very important in our world. In multi-building facilities, it's possible to set up a system in the form of a centralized broadcasting system for the entire building. Couple of key points are reduced maintenance costs and appropriate response in emergencies with videos, calls, and broadcasting systems. So again, kind of building all of those functions together to be able to do emergency broadcasts that are appropriate for the space itself. First point here being reduced maintenance cost. At universities, a broadcasting system is typically installed in each and every building, but it's rarely used for emergency broadcasts. So we have that initial high cost for a system that, in best case scenario, is rarely going to be used for emergency broadcasting, etc. But you still have to, install it, maintain it, etc. Anyway, in those cases. So we have, of course, received requests over time to reduce the amount of time and effort it takes to do those kinds of maintenance procedures as much as possible, which of course you've got your automatic monitoring, etc., to kind of limit the amount of of time it requires to go through and do those maintenance procedures. So the CX-1000 allows managers to centrally manage the broadcasting system in each building, and by using failure detection and scheduled self-check functions, it's possible to improve the maintainability of the broadcasting system without frequent device inspections on site, which could, of course, lead to the reduced maintenance costs that we're looking for and the reduced manpower that's required to do the maintenance. Second point is the appropriate response in emergency with video calling and broadcasting systems. In the event of an abnormality, such as an injury or an accident to a student in the facility, or a fire in a lab, for instance, you can report it to the administrator very, very easily. Over here on the left, we have an example of a chemical leak in a laboratory. In this kind of a case, you can make a broadcast contact to your building from the station in the room. If the damage is expected to spread, you can activate emergency mode and have it broadcast in phases over a wider and wider area. In addition, it's possible to broadcast to students while checking the live IP camera footage as necessary according to the content of the communication. So just making sure, again, that you can review what's actually happening in the broadcast area and determine whether the calls to action are actually being carried out, what the situation actually is in those spaces, etc., to make sure that your broadcasts are hitting the points that they need to hit. By linking calls from the intercom with the camera, it is also possible to prevent suspicious people from entering. So, of course, with the integration of CCTV cameras, you can keep an eye on who's coming in and out of the facilities. By using separated chimes and using the audio scene function, you can realize broadcasting suitable for the environment. With the audio scene function, it is also possible to adjust the sound quality according to the purpose of the use in the hall, such as lectures or concerts. So when you've got an event going on, you can adjust the settings by preset and automatically switch over to the settings that you would need for that situation. In addition, by replacing the amplifiers in each building with CX amplifiers, it is possible to save power and space because, of course, we have those speaker selectors and the floating power, so that you don't need to take quite as much space in the amp rack as you might have otherwise. Next up, we got to look at urban parks. So as time goes on, parks have kind of changed from being typical conventional parks, and are often used for things like disaster prevention, and a lot of them will have indoor facilities, etc. So if you need to use your park as a gathering space in the event of an emergency, we're kind of equipped for that. It's something that we didn't see quite as much in the past. We're seeing a lot of parks being kind of retooled with this ability to be, act as evacuation spaces, etc. So the CX could be used in these kinds of park facilities as well. The key points here are for outdoor leisure facilities such as amusement parks and roadside stations that are attached to parks, etc. Things along those lines. So for phase-free broadcasting in parks, that can be used in both normal times and during emergencies. There's no need for an independent broadcasting system for each park or building, and the municipal management division can take control of the broadcasting system collectively in case of an emergency. While normal broadcasting might happen in the park by itself, you can have this kind of attached to City Hall for all intents and purposes, and have those emergency broadcasts kind of do an override of the local system. Since it can be broadcast remotely from the government office, information can be sent directly to the park, which is being used as a disaster prevention base or an evacuation site in the event of an emergency. Second point, of course, is the use of the system as a warning broadcast and crime prevention system. By installing multiple stations for contacting the park office within the park, it would be possible to report and contact facility users for injuries, accidents, crimes, etc. It can also be used as a crime prevention system, such as monitoring the park with IP cameras at night and alerting people through broadcasts. For example, in a park where skateboarding might be prohibited, it can be assumed that if you can check to see if there is a person skateboarding, you can of course do call downs for that sort of thing, etc. Or you can find someone trying to enter a no entry area, and you can expect the system to send out a warning in cases of that nature as well. So you can kind of help to serve those restricted access areas. In the case of a park with a stage, you can easily switch the appropriate volume and sound quality settings depending on the situation, such as nighttime, daytime, and whether or not the stage is in use by using the audio scenes. Next up, we have multi-point systems, such as transportation or railway systems. In recent years, the number of unmanned stations on train lines has increased, and the number of management stations receiving communications from unmanned stations has also increased. So we can make it easier to take advantage of the CX-1000 connected by a network for such multi-point systems. We're able to centrally manage these kind of wide area systems that are spread over a large landmass through network. Points of the real key points here are reduced maintenance cost by failure detection, of course, and remote response and status checks. So of course, going back to the reduced maintenance, we have the auto detection of failures, etc. We kind of already hit on these points. And since there's no need to visit the site to check the devices, maintenance costs can, of course, be reduced. You don't have to physically go to the stations to individually check the devices in person. You do the status checks remotely. It's possible to build a system that can accept inquiries at all times by appropriate forwarding settings, such as the management station receiving inquiries from an unmanned station, and the central station receiving inquiries if the management station is unmanned at night. In addition, camera linkage enables appropriate broadcasting while checking the video of the unmanned station. So you can, of course, check out the CCTV system and see what's actually going on at those unmanned stations. Broadcast input, such as sound sources and microphones for broadcasting, is installed at central stations and at management stations, and broadcast output equipment is installed at the local stations to enable remote broadcasting. There's no need necessarily to have broadcast input devices scattered at each station, because of course most of those are going to be at the head end, either a main station or management building. In the past, we had used N8000 in some cases for railways. We had been told that sometimes it could be a little bit difficult to hear, or maybe the audio output wasn't enough, but in CX series, we have addressed that need, improved it to be easier to hear with a voice enhancement filter, automatic gain adjustments, and a voice switch. Next up, we have schools. In this example, we have a school with integrated elementary and junior high schools. In these kinds of cases, there may be different chimes required in each area, such as for the elementary school versus the junior high versus the high school, and maybe common playgrounds areas, etc. Other things that might be on the premises. Say there's a kindergarten there, you can have that separated out as well. It's possible to centrally manage all of this with the CX system, and with the advantage of a network PA system, we can replace old systems and propose a compact, simple, and easy to use broadcast system that kind of builds all those older analog systems together. A couple of key points is we've got diversification of broadcast systems. So the CX-1000 series can propose an intuitive broadcast system, even using a tablet. This is a system that is more intuitive and easier to use than conventional analog broadcasting systems. Also, if you have a device that can broadcast, you will be able to broadcast with a microphone and background music from anywhere. Secondly, we have the ability to simplify the sound of chimes and classroom changes. So you can prepare up to 100 chime patterns with one system, and you can play chimes separately in elementary versus junior high versus high schools, etc. So there's no need to purchase additional equipment because you have these different timings and chimes that you might need. You can separate them all and set them up as needed. In addition, if the start of classes is delayed due to some kind of environmental effect or emergency, etc., it's possible to easily shift the start of the time of the day for the school from the GUI, or stop the chime function itself entirely. You can easily change the classroom switching, etc. Response that occurs when switching school years from the web page of the GUI. So very easy to adjust the schedules based on how the classes are changing, etc. You can go in and customize that very, very simply. If you register the location of the speaker as an audio output, you can change the number of groups in the classroom and which broadcasting group it belongs to from the web page. So very flexible again, because it is all networked. You can adjust which paging group any given device might fall into very, very simply. Depending on the school, the Board of Education may manage the local schools collectively. So you might need head-end control from a board office rather than specifically from just the school itself. So we do have the ability to connect to the main board office, manage the devices at each school all at once, making calls between schools, very simple, and from schools to the board office, all within the system itself. And we don't necessarily have to even engage in the external phone system. You can handle that entirely through the CX if you have it set up properly. And of course, you can do broadcasting directly from the board head office. So if there's a board, a system-wide emergency, you've got a lockdown in one school and you have to make announcements about it in other schools, you can easily do that from the board office. Next, I'll have a look at comparison with some of the other TOA systems that have been around already. So most of the features of having a look at the older N8000. So most of the N8000 features are already supported in CX. Some of them are still being built in. So like recall, scan monitoring, tie line connection, and paging responses will be added in future updates that are coming over from the N8000. Otherwise, it does the vast majority of the same jobs as the older N8000 does, just a little bit easier and better. So in comparison with the also relatively new in Canada, the VX3000 mass notification system, there really are no significant major differences in the basic broadcasting functions. The real key, of course, difference between the two that really jumps out is, of course, the CX allows two-way communication, where the VX is a one-way mass notification system. The CX series can support the construction of larger scale broadcasting systems, including integration with communication and video systems. Of course, we've talked about that. Whereas on the other hand, the VX3000 offers more functions related to reliability and redundancy, etc., making the system more robust and dependable for those mission critical applications. Where true emergency mass notification might be more the lean, and you might be looking for more of those reliability functions. Comparison in with the IPA1 series. Fundamental difference between the two systems lies in whether the control is managed in-house or relies on an external server. With the CX series, the control is fully managed internally, which means the CX alone can build a complex and advanced broadcasting and communication system. You don't have to worry about external servers, etc., because your server is built in. The server is the system manager. On the other hand, the IPA1 series depends on servers such as VMS or cloud SIP servers, which are not dedicated broadcasting servers. As a result, the system is mostly limited to simple amplification functions. And of course, because we have the ability to use IPA1 with the CX, you now are getting the serverless IPA1 devices are now able to rely on the sourcing from the CX server. So we're able to use those together. All right, so I went through that very, very quickly. By all means, I'm sure there are folks that have some questions out there. We'll give you a couple of minutes now to bring those to the forefront.
Dr. Sound.